suspense. Nigga, where am I going? Drop the foe in my cup, now I'm floating. I can't feel a thing, to be real, I just go through the motions. Where am I going? Nigga, I'm in deep like the ocean. I've been in my bag, everybody around me, I'm ghosting. Where am I going? Drop the foe in my cup, now I'm floating. I can't feel a thing, to be real, I just go through the motions. Where am I going?
Good morning. Welcome back to another episode of HardFoul Radio. We are at a different time. I will explain that towards the end of the show. But if you know me whatsoever, it is still a good morning. Appreciate everybody, anyone who is checking in. Again, this is a new time of recording. Trying something a little bit different here. But still a lot to talk about. Appreciate anyone that does view the new time. Again, we're going to be live from 8 to 10, and this is going to be the time going forward. It will then be from Sunday through Thursday, 8 to 10 p.m. And again, I'll explain more of that later in. But let's get started. So there's two things I want to talk about. The first one, though, is let's get the 1 seeds out of the way. Everybody, I'm aware, myself included, respects Josh Allen. 1,000%. Josh Allen is, you could argue, the best quarterback on the planet right now. You could argue the best player on the planet. And this is what feels like supposed to be his year. This isn't a Disney movie, though. It's the NFL. Does it feel like everything is lining up for him to have a Super Bowl run? 1,000%. But in that same regard, the idea that he is just going to walk in to Mile High and have some Superman game as if it is just obvious or it is accepted or it is a foregone conclusion that he's just going to throw the cape on and be the best player in the world against the defense of the NFL in sacks, a defense that was not Jacksonville in terms of the best against the run, but was still top 5 and is number 3 in yards per carry given up to running backs. A defense that is significantly better than the defense the Bills are bringing. The Bills, who have injuries everywhere, yes, it is really easy to say, oh, Josh Allen is going to be Superman. And this is why sports are beautiful. Because that's the only way he can do this. I want to be very, very clear about this. We're going to address the NFC side as well. The Broncos go into this game. They do not have the better quarterback. They do not have the better running back. And that's where it stops. Denver has the better offensive line. They have the better and healthier receivers. They have the better defensive line. They have the better linebackers. They have the better secondary. And I would say they have the better head coach. So everything's pointing to Denver. And Denver has home field advantage. And Denver's on rest. Buffalo's coming off a physical game, playing on a short week. And they're playing in altitude, which I'm aware Josh Allen played in Wyoming at college, and that has a higher altitude than Colorado, but it's been several years since he's played professional football there. I know he still goes there in the offseason. I believe they have a house there. He's rich. He has multiple houses. But this is not just, foregone conclusion because Josh Allen's the best player on the field. In fact, the only way the Bills win this game is if Josh Allen is the best player on the field. This is not the game they win because James Cook goes off for 150, 200 yards and just dominates time of possession. This is not the game where the defense goes out there and plays lights out or elite like Buffalo's defense has in past years. The way they win this game specifically is Josh Allen go be Superman. And we'll see if he can do it. Now, does that mean Denver shouldn't be worried? No, Denver should be worried. It's only logical to be worried. Because the reality that Denver is facing is that you could be better at all of these categories, and he can throw the cape on. That's the reality of this game. So everybody's going to give you a million different breakdowns. Everybody is going to pick who they like, and there's a lot of people. What makes Denver kind of conflicting is that you're going to hear two numbers that don't mean anything, but everyone's already been saying it, and everyone's going to keep saying it. Denver was held under 20 points the last 3 games. Look at the Packers game and look at the Jaguars game. Those were the last 2 games of consequence that Denver played. Did the Jaguars go into Mile High and absolutely dominate that game from start to finish? Yes, 1,000%. Did the Broncos the week prior against the Packers, did Bo Nix not have his best game of the season and Denver looked elite on both sides of the football? Yes, yes, they did. After that, you got the Chiefs, the Chargers. Those were not meaningful games. We're just don't gotta be respectful. These weren't meaningful games. The Chargers were sitting guys because of rest. The Chiefs were sitting guys because of injuries. So Sean Payton did not sit there and give you some grandiose playbook. They did not give you something they really get film on. Now, to close this out, I will say, with everything that's just been said, with what Josh Allen has to do, where the advantages are for Denver, Sean Payton, this is where you make your money. You're paid $20 million a year for moments like this. It is unlikely, we'll give Josh Allen credit and we believe he's going to make plays, but it is unlikely you look at this game and go, oh, the defense was the problem. It is unlikely you look at this game and go, the offensive line for Denver was the problem. Both of those units are clearly elite. Can the play calling and the schemes they drop on offense for the offensive genius that Sean Payton is supposed to be, why he has paid so much money, we got to see it. This is the game where there was a moment with a reporter early this week, which has gotten kind of blown out of proportion because the reporter and Sean have a relationship and they kind of go back and forth. But if you don't know Sean Payton, or not saying I know Sean Payton, but if you're not aware of how Sean Payton talks normally in press, in media, it comes off as standoffish, or realistically comes off even a little jackassish. But this is what you were brought here for. Yes, you've already done the first part. You have turned Denver around into a competent franchise. You did that. Boom, that's done. And because of that, there was already a bright future ahead. But these kind of games, I'm not saying Denver has to win the Super Bowl for this season to be a success. But these kind of games, can you execute a game plan? Can you draw up schemes that is going to make this kind of game? Can you drop the scheme? Can you win this game off of your offensive play calling? That's what Denver needs, first and foremost. Moving on to the NFC side. First off, shout out to the NFC West. 3 of 4 teams in that division have made it the divisional round. Shout out to future Arizona Cardinals head coach, whoever you are. It's going to be a tough job. You got a lot of stiff competition in the division. The NFC side, though, to me makes far more sense. I think the Niners-Seahawks game, which will be the third time they've played, this was the Seahawks' last game, but now the Seahawks are playing an even more banged-up 49ers team that's going to be without George Kittle this week. I think Kyle Shanahan's the best head coach in football. I know Andy Reid has all the Super Bowls, and McVay is the genius. What Shanahan is doing right now with this roster, getting them this far in the playoffs where they had a chance for the 1 seed, they're in the divisional round, I have no idea how he's doing it. And Shanahan, not just this year, he's the only coach right now in the NFL, if you said, get me to a Super Bowl with a clearly below average quarterback. He's the one guy that can do it. He's the one guy that can do it. Oh, but McVay got there with Jared Goff. We didn't think that highly of Jared Goff initially, but McVay turned Goff into a Pro Bowler, and he has continued with excellent offensive coordinators and coaching to be a 30-plus touchdown Pro Bowl level quarterback. Kyle Shanahan got to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo and a young Brock Purdy, who a lot of people, myself included, were not sold on Brock Purdy until a few weeks ago, a few months ago. Hell, some people maybe just a few days ago. Shanahan's the best coach in football. So would I be shocked if he won this game? Only for the basis of, and we're going to do power rankings at the start of the second hour, that they have so many injuries and they've continued to overcome all of those injuries. And that's just incredibly impressive. But the reality of what Kyle Shanahan is doing, it's incredible. It is unequivocally incredible. The Bears game is interesting because the Rams, this is why home field advantage matters so much. The Rams it's an LA-based team. They had a chance if they didn't lose to the Panthers and didn't blow the lead against Seattle, couldn't play in this game in SoFi. Instead, they're going to Chicago. It's going to be less than 10 degrees at the start of kickoff. And they're playing a team that just quite frankly is on a magical run during a magical season. It's going to be cold as you know what. This is a tough matchup even for a team that I think is supremely talented and a team that I picked to go to the Super Bowl. And the Rams, I think, have the better quarterback. I think the Rams have the better head coach. Now, those aren't knocks to what the Bears have. The Bears obviously are very competent and above average at quarterback and head coach. But the Rams, I still think, have the better. But because this game is taking place and it's not going to be in LA, it's going to be in Chicago, I got to deal with the weather. I got to deal with that home crowd. The NFC, to me, wide open. I think the AFC, if Denver gets past the Bills, I think Denver should go to the Super Bowl. In the NFC, Rams or Bears, whoever wins, then playing the winner of Seattle 49ers. I have Seattle's probably the best overall team. The Niners have the best head coach. The Rams, I liked the best coming into the season, probably have the MVP at quarterback, the best collection of pure talent. And then you have the Bears, who are just on a magical ride, and hope you're up 20 in the fourth quarter, because that's probably what it takes to stop a Caleb Williams fourth quarter comeback. Football's amazing, guys. There's been a lot of huff of football this year during the regular season. We've talked about that, the product the NFL's put out. But NFL playoff football has been absolutely incredible. So much more fun stuff to talk about. When we come back from the break, what I don't think the Steelers' job is as impressive as people make it out to be. We played levels earlier on group chat about an hour and a half ago. I'm going to give you my personal opinion of why I think the Steelers' job is not quite all it is cracked up to be. This is HardFoul Radio at our noontime. And we are back. This is HardFoul Radio. Will's going to be joining us here momentarily. So he talked about an hour and a half ago on group chat, and we did levels with the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach opening. And how good of a job is it actually? And the guys kind of dismissed it pretty much immediately. And they went on talent and basically saying like the Steelers don't have just that. They don't have enough actual talent and core players who are under 30 years old to justify them being better than a team like the Cardinals or the Raiders, or take your pick, right? Go watch the episode, and the video will be out here in a couple days. Where I do think the Steelers, and I push back a little bit, is that they do have stability as a franchise. I do. I think they are well run, even though they've not had a lot of playoff success. And that matters. There are some franchises who are just inept, dysfunctional, all those other things. Like, they're just not a good franchise, respectfully. But what I don't think that helps with is, I've heard this a lot with the coaching search, that, oh, well, if you have the stability that the Steelers have, and they're not wanting to fire coaches, and so if you're a coach, you'll get hired there, and you know you'll have long-term job security. I don't believe that. It's 2026, not 2008 or 1993 when Bill Cowher was hired, or maybe even 92, and it's definitely not back when Chuck Noll was hired. The reason those guys had such long job security, A, is because they were handed great teams. Cowher inherited a great team from Noll. Cowher passed on a great team to Tomlin. Tomlin's not passing on a great team to the next coach. He's just objectively not. And in 2026, the NFL, the Steelers are worth billions of dollars. They weren't worth that when Tomlin got the job. They definitely weren't worth that when Cowher got the job, and nowhere near to that when Noll got the job. There is millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars that goes into just running these things now. So I know the Rooney family's had them forever, and there is stability in that, but you can't sell me on a coach. If a coach goes to Pittsburgh and his first 2 years are underwhelming, are you saying that the Steelers and the Rooney family are just going to keep him because we keep all our coaches for 18 plus years? That's just not the case. Those guys got a lot of leeway because they all won really early. Again, they inherited great teams from each other. Tomlin got a great team from Cowher. Cowher got a great team from Noll. Like, the idea that the next coach is going to be amazing. And this is, again, I get why Mike Tomlin walked away from the Steelers, and I would have understood if the Steelers wanted to walk away from Mike Tomlin. At some point, it's kind of similar to the Ravens thing of like, if the message is getting stale, you've been there forever, it's no longer working, like, there is a time where the course runs dry and you got to move on. That's fine. That's understandable. I don't begrudge either of them for doing it, Tomlin actually doing it, or if the Steelers wanted to do it. But the reality is, if you're not inheriting a great team, job security in 2026, especially for professional sports, is not guaranteed any way, shape, and or form. Don't try to convince me as a head coach that my sales pitch is, we'll give you a long leash. Because if you don't like how it looks, or the fans are booing and it's not winning, you can always just take that leash from me. That's not real job security. Now, if you're going to give somebody, if the Steelers are going to be unprecedented and give somebody who's a brand new coach 10 years, $100 million, okay, fine, we can talk. But if you're not offering me some insane amount of money and years and safety through actual money and financials, don't tell me, oh, well, all Steeler coaches are here forever. There's no guarantee that I could be the first Steelers coach, because as likely as I am to be the next Steelers coach to coach 15 plus years, I'm 1,000 times more likely to be the first Steelers coach candid under 2. So no, I don't think the Steelers job is as good as people are trying to make it out to be. And it is that time of the week, so y'all know what that means. It means my brother's joining me, standing in at 6'3", 230. And how we feeling?
Bet down.
Hey, Bear down, man. Oh, y'all had an offensive. It's what, left tackle got hurt. Oh, so we got so now you got to. We need like at least 6'5", 315 for the left side.
Shout out to Ozzy. Get well soon.
Amen. How did, before we move on to and previewing the divisional matchup, how did that game feel like you watching? As far as obviously like the first half probably had to feel like as much of a low point as you can watching your team, and then versus the second half.
I mean, I was chilling. Listen, it's kind of like I think I like to consider myself like a reasonable fan. So if I see a team do something over and over again, like, why wouldn't I believe that they could do it again?
All right, so I've heard that from a couple people I listened to this week, and the Bears are unique in this regard. They're one of the few franchises still to this day that are like they are a defensive franchise through and through. Like, the defense isn't great this year, but it's like the Bears, the Ravens, the Steelers, there's a handful of them that are like defensive franchises. And everyone's obviously said the number a million times, like, the Bears don't have great offensive records, right? Like, if you, like, Caleb just beat the all-time passing record, but it's like still the only franchise without 4K. Caleb should get there next year. That everybody that I've heard from Chicago is like, there's just truly a belief in this team. Like, at some point you just thought, like, the stats and the metrics, and you're just like, I've seen this team come back time and time again. Like, it just feels like one of those special kind of teams. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and not even just that, but when you talk about like the number of comeback wins, I can't remember if it's, I think it was 6 before, now. So it's 7 now. But even with it only being 7, like, we lost the last 2 games of the regular season, and we came back in both of those games. Also, we just didn't finish. So I had no reason watching that game to believe that we weren't going to come back in the second half of that game.
No, that's fair.
And I mean, like, I think what Tony sent me that text. Tony sent that text to the group after the first quarter. Oh no, that might have been somewhere around the first half when he asked how I was feeling.
How you feeling? Yeah.
Mm-hmm, so.
No, it's absolutely fair. I likened it to, and Caleb was better than Tebow. I'm not even trying to go there, but just as far as how the team felt, like, the 2011 Broncos are maybe the 8th or 9th best version of them since I've been a fan. But they're one of my favorite teams because, like, every game felt like, all right, there was going to be offensive struggles. They were not a perfect team, but it was all the fourth quarter comebacks. There was a lot of excitement. This team, I've been on kind of all week and especially Monday, where I was like, just being one and done doesn't make that season a failure. And I would say even for the Bears, regardless of what happens, and respectfully, Chicago, I've been with y'all all season, but I'm picking the Rams. This has been a wildly successful season. Like, even if, and I don't think this is going to happen, but even if y'all got smoked by the Rams, this has to be considered a successful season, no?
Even if, sure. Yeah, even if, I think it's definitely a successful season. I think, coming into the season, there was a lot of questions about where the Bears were ranked in that division. If they would or wouldn't make the playoffs, how many wins they would get, like how many wins would be considered a successful season. So I don't think anybody's seeing this coming.
No, 1,000%.
I mean, except Ben Johnson. I mean, he came in and he said this ain't no rebuild. We can win right now.
He did. And he's fixed the two things that, like, again, the completion percentage, I think that'll naturally work itself out, and we've already talked before of, like, if you get the special in the fourth quarter, you can ignore. Again, I likened it to Shaq a couple weeks ago, where I'm like, yeah, would it be nice if Shaq hit 80% of his free throws? Sure. He was still Shaq. Like, you lived with the fact that he was not a great free throw shooter, a great offensive player in the league. Like, you live with the fact of neither of us like the biggest Luka guys, but if you had a dude on your team giving you 39 and 9. And he was just a bad defender, you'd be like, all right, that just kind of, that's par for the course. Steph's a better example. Like, Steph's never been a great defender, but you're the greatest shooter ever. Who gives a fuck if you play defense or not? What are your expectations going into the Rams game? The Rams right now still the betting favorite to make it to the Super Bowl. The betting favorite to make it to the Super Bowl. I think they're tied with the Bills now because everybody's fallen back in love with Josh Allen again. What are your expectations for that game? And do you feel, how confident on scale of 1 to 10 do you feel like the Bears can win that game?
I would go like an 8.5 maybe.
Damn.
Like, and so one of the things that one thing that I think at some point during this playoff run, and I think one of them will be this Rams game. I think it's going to be a point where the Bears have a good offensive game from start to finish.
I agree.
Like, and I think the last time that may have happened was like the Eagles game, where I think, even though that wasn't a super high scoring game, but you know, it was, I think we had a touchdown or so in the first half. And, you know, I think a lot of these games we're not even scoring, like we're not getting touchdowns in the first half. We're not even putting up touchdowns until, like, you know, the second half and things like that. So, no, I mean, I think the Bears can get it done. I think it's going to be really cold.
That's huge. Going
I think
LA
it's going to be really cold, and I mean,
right now I think it's 6 degrees is the temp for game time.
Yeah, I'm pulling it back up now.
And that's a home field advantage. Like, this is why having the 2 seed, like,
they got all week to practice in it, even though it ain't that cold right now. But you know, it'll be like today. Today the low was 33. Tomorrow it'll be 19. Thursday it'll be 15. Saturday it'll be 14. Sunday 11. So I mean, they have time to kind of get out there, practice in it, get themselves mentally prepared for it and things like that.
This man just said it's not that cold today, and then said the low was 33.
I mean, it's 43 now.
This is, like, jokes aside, this is why, again, like, why home field advantage does matter. And if, like, again, are the Bears my favorite to make the Super Bowl? No. But this is one of those things of, like, it was why I was so big on Denver, like, fandom aside, of, like, if you got to go to Colorado, you got to deal with the altitude, you got to deal with the cold, like, that's an advantage. And for the people that are normally there, like, if I went to Chicago right now, I might really just die. Like, if I brought a camera and streamed that shit, Twitch would shut me down. I would die on camera. They'd be like, 35 degrees, out, just gone. Let me write my will up now. You're used to it because you've grown up there, that you've been there your whole life. So it's like, you walk outside and what's the coldest you walk outside in shorts?
Oh man, I'm black, so it's a little different for us. But
That's how, like, as you outside in shorts if it's 40 degrees?
No. Maybe 65-ish.
See, that's crazy. 65. I'm California. It's like in high school, that should hit 65. You see exactly what everybody got for Christmas sweaters. Like, everybody got that shit.
Yeah,
got two of them
like,
on. Like, motherfuckers got like, it's. Nah, see, I don't do the cold. But that's huge. Again, the Rams are an LA-based team, and the Rams have been in LA long enough now, even if you want to go to, like, St. Louis isn't exactly, like, the coldest place on the planet. But that's huge. And if that's the difference in them having one more win versus 2, like, that's huge for a playoff run. That's huge for confidence, as well as, because what's the other matchup? It's Niners and Seahawks. I don't think Seattle would be a hard place to play. Like, again, if Seattle wins that game against the Niners, which is their third time playing, and the Niners are injured all hell, but they continue to win games, Seattle will be a tough place to play. But if y'all win this weekend and the Niners upset, I would pick you over San Francisco in another game that's going to be fucking 2 degrees and you playing just what's left of the Niners, because if the Niners win, somebody else got to tear the ACL or break a bone or something. Like, the Niners just can't win unless somebody gets injured. That must be part of the contract. Like,
I think for sure. I think that'll be a difference too. And you know, that Niners game the second time around, it'll be a lot colder. And we were in San Fran when we played them.
That's right, y'all did play early this year. Did the Bears play the Seahawks this year?
It wasn't early. That was like we didn't play the Seahawks. That was probably maybe a month ago when we played the Niners. That wasn't that long ago. It was because it was our last 3 games were. Our last 3 games, actually, was the Niners right before? Because it was the Niners and the Lions. Those were the
last game of the season. Yeah, Niners and y'all went to the Lions.
Yeah, those were the last 2. So those were our last 2 games. So it was just 3 weeks ago.
That was also the Niners game. Speaking of like complete offensive games, the Niners won because like the offense was ready from the jump in that game. So yeah, no, shout out to home field advantage. Going over really quick to the NBA. So obviously we've talked a bunch about the Thunder. I'm curious. You and you're one of the few people I've given up the fight as much as I love Giannis, and Giannis is my guy and is an all-time great. I've kind of given up the arm between him and Jokic. Does Giannis, who came out 2 days ago and said, I still want to be in Milwaukee forever, I still want to be here, like this is my team, this is my city, all this other stuff, even though his wife now no longer travels back and forth, the Bucks are not good. And the Bucks, because of Dame's contract, they still got to pay for. Giannis is obviously worth it, but it's still really expensive. I think Chris Middleton's contract is their part of it is finally off the books. Should Giannis finally be ready to leave Milwaukee?
I mean, it's kind of, honestly, it's one of those things where it's like, it's so different these days because it's like being like before it was like you would just expect it to stay with like the franchise, like unless you would like you like it was just one of those things that was expected. So now it's like we kind of look down on people for not leaving. Like, yeah, you stayed too long. So I don't really care. Do what you want to do. If you want to be in Milwaukee and run up the money. Like you got your ring, you got your MVPs. Giannis got a Defensive Player of the Year?
Yeah, or no? 2 MVPs, 1 Defensive Player of the Year, and the 1 title in 2020 or 2021. What year was Phoenix? Yeah,
2020. Because when did the Warriors win? Because the Warriors came back in 22 or 20?
22.
So that means I think Milwaukee was 21.
Yeah, that sounds right. Because 2020 was LA, Miami. Yeah, that no ass stadium. Or no crowds and no fans in the stadium.
That was 2020 then. 21 was Milwaukee. The Warriors came back in 22.
Yeah. I put this in the group text, but I'm curious your opinion. So Anthony Davis is hurt again. Shocker. Although he came out today and he started calling Shams a liar, which not saying like you allowed to call a reporter a liar if they're reporting something you think is false. The problem with Anthony Davis is like it's an injury report. It's not like niggas like making really like stuff about you. They're just like, hey yo, he got ligament damage, he did this in his hand, he's gonna have surgery and he's gonna be out several months. So it's like, and when you as injury prone as him, it's tough to call someone saying you injured a lie. It's like you always hurt, bro. For where AD was projected to be and who he could have been throughout his career, he obviously got off to a great start, was putting up numbers in New Orleans, went to LA, won a ring. Like, are the injuries at this point in his career, because he's obviously on the back end, like, did he turn out how he was supposed to be? Or have enough injuries now stacked up to where, like, the player and the final product we got of Anthony Davis is severely different than the one we could have had?
I think so. I'll say like the player he turned out to be
Chicago
is who he
native,
should have been.
Chicago native, by the way.
I think he was who he was supposed to be. Like, because I think Anthony Davis at his peak and healthy, like, it's never any question about his impact and who he is as a player. I think his career overall is like it wouldn't pan out as far as what that could have looked like because of the injuries. But I think when you talk about just him as a player and what he was able to accomplish when he was playing, I think if you look at Anthony Davis at his peak, you're still talking about one of the best players ever. And I mean, I guess it depends on like whether that's top 25 or whatever, whatever number you want to put him in, top 15, top 25, top 30, like even being a top 25 player all time at your peak is an all time great.
Nah, true.
So I mean, I think, but even honestly at his peak, like when you look at Anthony Davis at his peak and you start thinking like, man, if he was able to put multiple seasons together like this, we probably will be talking about him as one of the greatest power forwards of all time.
No, it's
So I think he reached a peak high enough to say like I think his peak was definitely high enough to say he was who he should have been, but I think injuries just hindered the longevity of it.
Yeah, and his peak is, I argue his peak is probably when he was 25, 26, and it was the season before, the last season him and Boogie played together, and the season right after that. And he was putting up like 27, 28 points a game. He was grabbing 12, 13 rebounds, blocking a bunch of shots. Obviously, it was the last season, second to last season with New Orleans. I know the title is his crowning achievement with the Lakers, and that's fine, but I think the best version of the player, and he was like the first like PER superstar. Like he was his PER during that time frame. Like Jokic and Giannis have kind of come through and fucked up PER for everybody else because they've had multiple seasons of almost 30 and over 30. Like AD had PER seasons that were like, it was him, it was Michael Jordan, and it was Wilt. And I'm like, yeah, you doing that at 25, like you're not winning a bunch of games, but you're pretty fucking special. So
yeah,
shout out to AD, man. It'd be nice if we got one more season of him healthy, but is
what are your thoughts though?
Again, he's tough for me. He is talent. If you told me like he is what I think for power forwards, he is the Tracy McGrady of power forwards. Now he is peaked higher than T-Mac, but like if you were to put T-Mac in a room with the five best shooting guards of all time, like take away accomplishments, just do basketball skill, T-Mac could probably hoop with just about any of them. Like, and that's including like put Mike and Kobe in that room. Like T-Mac is putting up a fight against any of them. AD,
you think he peaked higher than T-Mac?
Yeah, he peaked higher. AD peaked higher than T-Mac, in my opinion. And T-Mac was great, but like
I think it might be a debate. Like, and the only reason I say it might be a debate is because, like, you know, when you talk about like positions, like, I think, I mean, what was T-Mac's like?
His best season.
His scoring title. What season? How much did he average? 30.
I think it's like 32, 33.
Like that. I mean, 33 in that time is crazy.
No,
and that's kind of why, and that's why I say like
32.1
like when you think about,
in 02.
When you think about, that's why I'm like, when you think about just positions, like I think because, you know, AD is able to have more of an impact when you talk about like
defensive
on the glass, and I mean, you know, defense, you can impact defense from the wing though also. So I mean, that's a T-Mac thing, but
no, 1,000%. But like just in terms of again,
like if your peak is averaging 32.1 points a game, that's crazy.
No, and back then I don't even have to look at the stats for the team. Like in 02, like the highest scoring team in the league.
80.
Yeah, no, like the highest scoring team in the league would be like 106, 107. So like if you're doing 32, you are probably responsible for 30% of your team's points, which is insane. And it's not really to criticize. I don't want to necessarily criticize T-Mac, but like I feel like AD could do that same thing with power forwards, right? Like if you put AD in a room with Duncan, if you want to call Giannis a power forward, Barkley, like you put him in that room, it's like, yeah, those guys had better careers than him, but I don't feel like if you put AD against Duncan, I'm like, I don't think Duncan would just kill him. Like, I think that would be like if you were to do a one-on-one hypothetically or match both of them in their prime, like AD I feel like could hold his own. But Duncan's career and his accomplishments are like just so far ahead of AD's in order to make like the real conversation of like, oh, is he as good as Tim Duncan? It's like, no. This nigga
and that's why I say like as a player, like his peak is like up there with some of the top guys, but it's like when you just talk about careers, he won't be in that conversation.
Yeah. His peak as just an individual player might be higher than Duncan's if we're not doing accomplishment type shit.
But yeah, that's why I was like, I'm like, if you just talking about him as a player and reach whatever his peak was, it's like we seen what like peak Anthony Davis could look like.
Mm-hmm. That was incredible.
And if that wasn't his peak, then like he would have been better than a lot more people. Like if that wasn't the peak.
No, that's a fact. And I appreciate you, bro. Don't forget, you can always check Will out. Group Chat Podcast, 3:30 every Wednesday Pacific Standard Time. And appreciate you, bro. And we'll see you then.
Yep.
And it is that time of the week, so y'all know what that means. And I appreciate Will for tuning in, jumping on here with me as always. This is HardFoul Radio. We'll be back momentarily. And we are back. We have power rankings at the top of the hour, as well as Tony is going to be stopping by to discuss teams. So, out of the teams that are left in the NFL, And I'm sorry, we're going to move this to next. I apologize. So, I love Giannis, man. And Will and I talked about Giannis a little bit. The way we have to pre-record these, Giannis hadn't done the whole booing thing yet, where he was booing the home crowd in Milwaukee because they were booing the team because they were down 30 points to the Timberwolves without Gobert or Anthony Edwards. I hate this stance from a fan's perspective because fans, we get, and I am no different, we get so involved in the team, so involved in the players, so involved in the games to a point that is totally irrational. But fan is short for fanatic. And so I hate when saying, oh, this guy should ask for a trade, especially when they are an all-time player like Giannis. I hated it with Anthony Davis in New Orleans. I hate it with Kevin Love in Minnesota. Like, I hate it from the fans' perspective because you get invested in these players. Imagine being, I know it looks impossible right now because they're playing well, but imagine being a Spurs fan and it's like, oh, Wemby is no longer, like, Wemby's getting traded in another year and you just no longer get to follow his career. Like, fans get so emotionally invested in these guys that when you take that away from them, it sucks. It's just, there's no other way to put it. It objectively just sucks. So when I see that, I want to preface that to make sure when I say Giannis should ask for a trade or the Bucks should just go to him and say, hey man, it's time. They're not good. The reality of making the playoffs is slim to none. Doing anything in the playoffs, probably even less. It's not a good situation. Everybody in this scenario should just move on. That's the reality. And so, what else does Giannis have to do there, man? You're an MVP multiple times. You're a defensive player of the year. It's you and Kareem for basically every major stat. Time to move on. And I know that sucks if you're a Bucks fan. It does. But what are we doing now from either side's perspective? It's time to go. And that sucks. But it's honest, it's how I feel, and it's how I view the situation as it currently unfolds. We'll be back for hour 2. Again, we have Power Rankings at the start of hour 2, as well as Tony stopping by. This is HardFoul Radio. If you are someone like me who used to drink 5-6 cups of coffee a day, you want energy without the crash later, but you don't want to buy a shitty energy drink because who really does? This episode of HardFoul Radio, as well as every episode of all the shows we do here at HardFoul Network, is sponsored by Dubby. You can go use HardFoul10 at checkout, get you 10% off. It is not Monster. It is not a generic energy drink. It gives you energy now, no crash later. I've been using it for the last couple months. Feels great, tastes great. Again, get your energy now, no crash later. HardFoul10 at checkout for 10% off. We'll be back momentarily. And we are back for hour 2. This is HardFoul Radio at our new time. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Appreciate anybody watching back on the YouTube channel. Anyone checking out TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. Appreciate you. Go follow us over there. So we're about to get into the power rankings, going through each team. And again, similar to last week, it is as they are it's not. It's how likely I think a team is to win the Super Bowl. Pretty cut and dry, right? So let's get into it. We got here our playoff power rankings. No chance, would be shocked. QB has to do it. Absolutely could and should. And I'll be real honest this week. I want to be respectful to all the teams that are still in the playoffs. Nobody's in no chance. I think every single team that is currently in the playoffs, you could absolutely see the scenario in which they do make it to the Super Bowl. So I don't want to be disrespectful to the last 8. Everybody here absolutely has a chance to make the game. That being said, the one team that isn't would be shocked. I said Kyle Shanahan is the best coach in the NFL right now. What he is doing this season is absolutely incredible. He has gotten to the Super Bowl with subpar QB play in Jimmy Garoppolo and a young Brock Purdy. I don't want to take anything away from him, but I would be shocked just given the amount. I feel like the injuries just at some point have to mount up. Like they do. They just have to mount up. Also, speaking of no chance, both the Packers and the Panthers both had leads going into the fourth quarter. So, no chance, but it all worked out. QB has to do it. One team is different here. Obviously, the Bills. The quarterback still has to do it. Josh Allen, who was incredible last week against Jacksonville, he's going to have to do that exact same thing, going 2 mile high. I don't personally think he's going to be able to do it, but the reality exists that he could do it, and you have to keep that in mind. And now I think the Bears, you have to put them in this. If for no other reason, this is a compliment to Caleb Williams. It is also kind of a shot at the defense, which the defense right now just is not very good. The defense right now is playing very subpar. There's a lot wrong here, and so the Bears have to be better. They do. The Bears have to be better on defense if they want a legitimate run, and for right now, that means I think you got to put it in the quarterback's hands. Because even their running game, since that Eagles game, which this is really weird, has not been it's still been effective, but they're not running the ball as much. So that Eagles game on Black Friday, they ran, and that was their signature win of the season. And since then, they've been just running less. They're still effective. They're still a great running team. I absolutely believe that. But I think if you're going to win in this magical season, I think I think they play Sunday. It could be a shootout against the Rams. But your quarterback, Caleb Williams, is going to have to carry you. I think that's the only way right now I see the Bears continuing to advance. Absolutely could. The Rams and the Texans. And these are for very opposite sides of the football. The Texans, this defense, this is how you become legendary. They're already great. They've already got all the statistics. They're already amazing. They've already got the glory that the regular season and 1 week of the playoffs can give you. But if you want to be a legendary defense, it's real simple. You win a Super Bowl. The Ravens, 2000, 85 Bears, the Legion of Boom, and specifically the 2013 Seahawks, the 2015 Broncos, the no-fly zone. If you want to be a legendary defense, you win a title. We don't have legendary defenses that don't win titles. We just don't. We have a handful of legendary offenses that have not won a Super Bowl. The 98 Vikings come to mind, the 07 Patriots. We have legendary offenses that didn't go all the way. But for the defense to be considered legendary, you've got to win a title. And this defense absolutely is good enough to win a Super Bowl. The LA Rams, this is going to have to be your offense. One of the shocking things with the Rams, their defense has just been getting worse and worse since about the last 7 weeks specifically. Now, you saw prolonged periods of greatness to start the season and middle of the season, so if you believe they can get back to that, fine. I'm not saying they can't, but they're absolutely going to have to be on their A-plus performance. And this is a team that's going to have to be carried by its offense versus the Texans who are carried by their defense. But if you told me Matt Stafford, who I believe should be the MVP, him, Nakua, Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams in this running game, Sean McVay calling the plays, if you were to tell me, oh yeah, they ended up in the Super Bowl, of course, they absolutely could. And should Same two teams from last week, the Seahawks and Broncos. I'm keeping them here because they're the 1 seed. You should win your games at home. That's the whole reason why you fight all year for that. And the other team that should, and this is maybe too high of expectations, but it's New England Patriots. So here's the thing with quarterbacks who are great early on. You could argue, and Drake May is going to be top 2 in MVP, and Drake May is already great. Everybody besides Mahomes, probably you feel like underachieved, that were this great this early on. Russell Wilson got to a Super Bowl in his first 2 years. Got to one more, and he put up some numbers, but downhill. Dan Marino got to a Super Bowl in his first 2 years. Never made it back. Joe Burrow got to a Super Bowl in his first 2 years. Now he just misses the playoffs or is injured routinely. Like, guys that get here this quick, if you take out Mahomes and Brady's weird because Brady made it, but Brady wasn't particularly the reason they made it, especially early on, and he wasn't great yet. Brady and Mahomes, okay, even if you want to include Tom, those are the two guys that got here this early and continued to get back. There's no guarantee. This might just be the year for the Patriots. I know they're really young. I know this is only May's second year. It's only Mike Vrabel's first year coaching. But there is the biggest lie you can tell yourself as an NFL team or a fan or an organization is that, oh yeah, we're going to be back here for years and years and years to come. Jaden Daniels in the NFC Championship game a year ago. Now, he's got an aging roster. His offensive coordinator's gone. Life in the NFL comes at you fast. So this needs to be the year. If you're the Patriots, you kind of need to capitalize. So, again, maybe that's unfair to the Patriots because this is more expectations for a relatively young team, but that could just be your reality being in the NFL. Like, it's not uncommon. In fact, it's very common to get this far very early and then never make it back this far. So, for our power rankings for a divisional round heading into the playoffs, this is how I'm seeing the NFL. And it is that time of the week, so I'm joined by my brother Tony is in the building, standing in 6'4", 220 pounds. How we feeling today?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
So we had a fantastic wild card weekend. We give the NFL a lot of shit for putting out bad games. Turns out, if you stop letting half the teams play, you can get some good games in. You know,
that'll happen.
Sometimes
less is more.
Works like that. So this is where I'm at right now as far as who's remaining in the playoffs. And for everybody watching, yes, technically, one of these teams will be removed by the time y'all see this because I'm not going to try to predict the future between Texans and Steelers, but my money would be on the Texans. But hey, the Steelers, y'all are still on here for as of this exact.
I don't know, man. This is a Steelers spot.
I just can't believe in them. I would love to be like they get ran out the building tonight. It is Monday night before the game as people are listening, but I don't know, man. This is a very Steelers-y spot. They home dogs, I'd imagine. Yeah, I think they're I think it's 2.5 or 3, something like that. But yeah, no, it's why they would be in shocked. My really only moves, obviously, besides from eliminating the team, is I moved to the Rams from should to absolutely could. I wasn't really impressed, and I did think we were going to get I thought we were close to getting the upset. Like, we were a few plays away from Carolina really taking that game.
If Fajero Evero doesn't have all his DBs fucking 12 yards off the damn closest receiver, it may be a different result. Like,
that's wild because I forgot he was their DC, and so because he came from Denver, and Denver fans were heartbroken when he left because he left right before Sean got there, and everybody was like, because the defense was clearly the best part of the team, like the year Russ was there, but year Russ was there. And they was like, damn, keep him, and because nobody wanted Nathaniel Hackett no more for obvious reasons.
Obvious reasons, yes.
And so when I found out, I was like, damn, that's wild, because he used to just play press like crazy. He was playing press legitimately. Well, he was gone that year. Yeah, that was advanced with that. But he was playing press like crazy, and so to see that was wild to me. The Bills don't move up, even though they did beat the Jaguars, which I think was an impressive win. But I also think they kind of stay where they are because Josh Allen being Superman, which absolutely can happen, that's like their formula. I also moved the Bears up because I already had issues with their defense. I think I had more issues with their defense now. But if you don't blow them out, you have to respect that offense, especially in the fourth quarter, about as much as anybody. And you got to respect Caleb in the fourth quarter right now, about as much as anybody. So, I moved them up. What we thinking? Looking at heading into wild card.
I wouldn't be shocked if San Francisco goes to the Super Bowl or wins the Super Bowl. I would put San Francisco and absolutely could because they've already beaten the Rams. They beat the Seahawks early in the season. Obviously, lost to them later. Losing Kittle sucks, but I mean they haven't had Kittle a lot of the season. At a lot of, I don't want to say all season, but for an extended period there, they didn't have Kittle and we're still winning games. Now it's going to be tough against Seattle, and I'm not picking them to beat Seattle. We'll obviously get into that more Wednesday, but I wouldn't be surprised if Kyle gets this team back to the Super Bowl, or if they even win the Super Bowl. If you think they can get Fred Warner back at any capacity by the conference championship game, which they are one win away from, and if you think this offense can put together enough performances without Kittle, which I think they can. I think Tonjes has played really good this season. For another 3 games, that's not something that's very surprising to me. And and also, did Trent play yesterday?
He did.
Yeah, so it's like if Trent's back playing, if he's healthy for this run, McCaffrey's all world, and you're getting good performances out of Jawan Jennings, you're getting good performances out of Pearsall, and Demarcus Robinson was balling yesterday. Like if they're able to just put this together for another 2 games up to the Super Bowl, like nothing would surprise me about that. So I'd put them in absolutely could. Buffalo, it's weird because I want to put Buffalo in absolutely could, but I also get having them in quarterback has to do it because the defense makes enough plays, but for 60 minutes, I don't think that's a dependable defense. And if the Jaguars actually decided to give the ball to the players that were averaging 10 yards a run, maybe we're not even having this conversation. So who knows? But Buffalo, I'd say I'm rooting for Josh. I find myself rooting for Josh. I'm rooting for Drake May, obviously, member of Tony's Sons. And when we talking about the AFC, so I would like to see Josh go on an extended run. That could very much stop come next weekend. But yeah, I would move up San Fran, and I'd keep Buffalo. I'd probably put Buffalo in like a middle tier, kinda, if I could.
No, that's fair. Again, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, my whole thing is like, obviously this game coming up, I'm not picking them to win for obvious reasons, but it's not really an analysis reason. I just believe that game is going to go one of 2 ways. Either Josh is going to go crazy, I'm going to be heartbroken after Saturday afternoon, or the other Bills' flaws. Like, I feel like it's weird, as random as this season has been. I feel like you kind of see how all of these teams theoretically lose their final game, right? Like, the offenses that we know are not great, a Houston, a Denver, Seattle's offense has stalled at times when Darnold goes on his runs. Like, you kind of feel like, okay, that's how these teams are going to lose. And if the Bills or Patriots were going to lose, you almost feel like, okay, the quarterback's going to play great, but they get outgunned in that game. Who would you say for wildcard weekend, both one winner and one loser, who was your biggest shock? Like the team that you were most surprised won and the team that you were most surprised lost?
Everything really went how I think it was going to go, honestly. Like I said, I picked the Eagles to beat the Niners, but I'm not shocked that the Eagles lost. Like we talked about it on group chat. It's like if anybody can win that game, especially how it played out, it was Kyle. It was Kyle Shanahan, and the job him and Bob Sala did to just put guys in position to make plays, to do their job, and to minimize any damage that came their way. And obviously, the Eagles just bad offense helped them out with that. Like it was, that was the game. So I'm not shocked that they lost. Everybody else that lost, I predicted to lose. So this past weekend went how I thought it'd go, like result wise, but that I do think we'll see something different, as we come up on round two.
He might not win Coach of the Year. He would be my vote, is Shanahan. And I know they do now Assistant of the Year, so like a coordinator can get recognized. If you did total coaching staff, the Niners got to win it. It's like, but it was such a Niners win. You lose one of your star players to an injury, and you still find a way to win the game. I said yesterday on Hard Right, Hard Left, I was like, one of my issues with Purdy early on was I just felt like you could go down the roster. Like San Francisco was legitimately stacked, maybe the best roster in the sport 3 years ago. And I'm like, now literally every single player except what is probably Trent Williams on his last leg. Trent's a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest left tackles ever, but you can tell like the end is coming. And that's all he got left. Like, there's no more Debo. You just decided to leave before the season started. Kittle's now out. The guys on defense, Bosa, Warner, obviously Hufanga and Greenlaw, shout out to them, are no longer there. Like, that team that was stacked, Brock's all that's left, and he is still hooping. And I didn't even care about the interceptions. Like, he was throwing the ball so well that, yes, is targeting Quinyon Mitchell maybe questionable? Yeah, but he played so well the entirety of that game. I'm like, I was wrong. It took me a while, but Brock, I admit it, man. I was wrong. Congrats to you. You're playing your ass off. I want to talk really quick NBA. So supposedly now they've added even Jaren Jackson Jr. to it, is that the Grizzlies are finally willing to listen to trade offers for John Morant. And today, Shams reported a couple hours ago that if they find a deal for Morant, they also probably want to trade Jaren Jackson Jr. Jaren Jackson part, I think he's more team specific. To me, he kind of feels like, in my opinion, he's kind of like a supercharged Draymond, which is extremely valuable, but you got to be on the right team. Versus Ja, I believe you get him to the right situation, I think you still have superstar qualities. What team? Well, I know what team you would like to see him on. What team do you think would be the best fit for John Morant as he's in this rebuilding phase of his career to get himself back to where he was?
I think that comes down to where he is, like, mentally and where he's at health wise, because we've seen the best of John Morant and we've seen the worst of John Morant, and it just comes, his trade value is at an all-time low, so you're not getting much back for him in the way you probably would have had you done this a year or 2 years ago. Even with the off court stuff, he was still, I think you could still justify like a good haul for a young guy who was productive when he played, but he's not even that at this moment. I don't really know the best team for him. There's not a lot of teams that need point guards. We're in a really good place in the league where either you have your point guard or your point guard may just be injured. Now you look at a team like a Houston, maybe. I think that's a culture that could work for him, but what is Houston even willing to give up to get a Ja Morant, a guard that needs the ball in his hands? So that could help because it takes the ball out of Amon's hands, who he may be a little bit better at this stage playing off ball, kind of being able to cut and just play around the basket a little bit more, considering he's not, a really good shooter at this moment. Obviously it opens things up for Sengun, who can play the perimeter game, and he can also play inside. And then we know Kevin Durant can do whatever you need him to do. He's going to score the ball any type of way. It doesn't really matter for him. So I look at it, Houston, who's struggled over the last few games, falling in the standings in the West a little bit. So maybe that's a place for him. You look at obviously, like I said, from a fantasy basketball standpoint, I think the Celtics is really fun, but I don't see them making that move, especially considering them trying to stay below certain aprons and not have as much on the books. Maybe a Timberwolves trade. Maybe that's a team that's they're surging. What does a Timberwolves move maybe look like? What is the money there? What would they be willing to give up? So that's something I'd be interested in seeing. Yeah, but it's just not a lot of places for him. It's just not a lot. It'd be very funny. It's just not a lot of different places for him right now as far as teams needing a point guard, especially a Ja Morant type of point guard. We're in, like I said, we're just in a really good space as far as the league goes, where that's not really a need for a lot of teams.
If I'm the Timberwolves, I would double check my schedule, and I'm like, if we have Miami or New York, and then there's like 2 off days, this plane is leaving right the fuck after that game is over. Like, I'm not leaving you niggas alone in Miami and New York for 2 days. That would be fun though. Jaws to me is like, the talent to me is obviously there, and I have the belief of like
The Bucks, maybe the Bucks are another option.
the Bucks should be fun, especially if Giannis is telling us again he's going to stay there forever. I don't know if I believe
Right, right.
but Ja to me is like, I think has he done stupid stuff? Obviously, but I also just kind of as a life thing, I'm not shocked if a 20-some-year-old who has access to that many millions of dollars does something stupid. I'm not shocked. Like, I did dumb shit with way less money at the same age, so I'm like, I'm not going to really, was it dumb? Yes. Do I think it should be, like, career-ending or, like, he has no value anymore? No, I think that shit's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're talented, like, it's a different situation, but it's like, teams are still trading for Zion. And Zion has been doing some dumb shit off the court, too. But he gets on the court and he scores 25 and 9 on 60% shooting, and somebody's like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll take the stupid that comes along with that. Last thing here before I get you out. College football national championship. Indiana versus, I am so excited to see Michael Irvin. If anything about this Miami, like Michael Irvin during this entire Miami run has been absolutely peak television. They're playing for the national championship game. How do you think the game is going to go, and who do you got taking it all home?
I don't know how this game is going to go, man. I would not be surprised with any outcomes. Like, if you tell me that Miami, their front is getting after Fernando Mendoza and is making it tough on him and showing him something he hasn't seen this season from a defense, and they can pull his game out in Miami, I wouldn't be surprised. If you tell me they're just that team, and Cignetti is just that coach, and they are going to roll Miami, I wouldn't be surprised by that either. I think more than likely this is a very close game that's going to come down to who has the ball last, and that's how this game is going to be won. It's going to be won on either Carson Beck being able to make the play, having the ball last, or Fernando Mendoza showing us why he won the Heisman and being able to make the last play to win the game. So I think this is a close national championship game. I think it's going to be a fun game. Both of these teams can score. Both of these defenses really play a physical style of football that you don't really get from a lot of college defenses no more. Texas Tech. It's a small list of defenses that play a real physical style. And I think that's what we get next Monday. If I had to pick right now, just because of what the school has done for me in my life, I'm picking Miami.
I guess the really quick second part of that question is, every now and again, you do get a season or a performance that radically changes your stock. Now, this isn't going to radically change because this guy's top 5 regardless, but because he doesn't play quarterback, it's going to be hard for him to go first. Is there any situation where Ruben Bain makes such an impact on this game he could vault himself to the number 1 pick in the draft, even with the 2 quarterbacks expected to come out?
Nah, because he could have the game of his life. They'll still say, well, his arms are too short for the NFL or some stupid shit like that. So that don't really matter. And I don't even want to look at it like this. Like, this is going to be a really great college football game. And I think that over the last few years, like, we've become so consumed with how can this game impact them in the NFL. And it's just like, that's not what this is about. And I get that college sports is so much more pro sports now because of all the money involved, and I have no problem with that. Like, I'm perfectly fine with that. But I think that we need to, like, this has been a really fun playoff. These have been really great playoff games, unless you're playing Indiana. So it's I think we need to really appreciate this moment, like one of the at the turn of the millennium, like one of the true blue blood college football programs. Probably not that anymore, but with the long history and all the the legendary alum in Miami, mind you, like the game itself is in Miami, going up against what was perennially one of the worst college football programs of all time, and within 2 years has become pound for pound the best college football program in the country. In Indiana, is this is a story that's just, I think we really need to appreciate, and I look forward to what this game is going to do next Monday. Man, I'm excited for it. I haven't been this excited for a national championship game, and I don't remember how long.
No, that's true, and I do think, like, I made jokes, but like I think Michael Irvin being this excited at the games, I think all the alma mater, like when you see like all the Miami guys back there, like it does differentiate. It feels different than like guys showing up for an NFL game, right? Like, and that atmosphere is unique to college sports. So
Hmm.
should be a great game. Enjoy it for what it is. I appreciate you as always. Don't forget, you can always see Tony Group Chat Podcast 3:30 Pacific Time every Wednesday. I appreciate you, bro. And we'll catch you then.
Peace.
And I want to say appreciate Tony for stopping by. Excuse me. Talking college sports. Talking. Excuse me. So appreciate him for coming through. This is HardFoul Radio. We're going to take a quick break here and then back talk more NFL. And we are back. This is HardFoul Radio. So, some semi-breaking news broke about 30 minutes ago now is John Harbaugh and the Giants are supposedly finalizing a deal to take over and agree to be the next head coach of the New York Giants. So, I said this, and I said this on group chat a few hours ago, where this was the betting favorite for Harbaugh to go to the Giants. And if you believe in Jackson Dart, there's a lot to like about the Giants. You have a franchise left tackle. You got a top pick. If you believe in Jackson Dart, you've got a franchise quarterback. You've got a running back. You've got Malik Nabers, even though he's coming off an injury. You have a great defensive front. Like, there is a lot of pieces here where if the Giants, I think a lot of NFL teams are actually really dysfunctional as far as the product they put on the field week in, week out. If you just get to competent with talent, you're going to win games. The Giants, they won 4 games last year. The Giants would easily be, this is a kind of a Colin Cowherd thing, but the Giants would easily be a team that you're like, if they doubled their win total with John Harbaugh, consistency, and Jackson Dart continues to improve, I would not be surprised. Am I saying they overtake the Eagles? I wouldn't be there yet. I think the Eagles roster is just overly talented. But could they compete with the Cowboys, or we'll see what Washington does here? Absolutely. If they have consistent head coaching, consistent quarterback play, again, you've got the franchise left tackle, you've got a pass rush. There's a lot of things here that if you're John Harbaugh and you are not the X's and O's guy, but you are the culture guy. And let's see who John Harbaugh can bring in for his staff. Can John Harbaugh also convince Mike McDaniel to come over there with him and say, hey, look, man, you're going to have Jackson Dart, Malik Nabers, you got your tackle, you've got Cam Scatteraboo. Can you make some magic here? Because even if this is only a 1 or 2 year thing, because you might now go get another job. If you're Mike McDaniel, and we already saw what you did with Tua, and that was, people can say how they feel about Tua now, but the reality is, in real time, when we saw Tua and he was leading the league in passing, that's when everybody or an average, above average football fan was looking and going, oh, McDaniel is the genius behind this. We all knew Tua had his limitations. Like, no one was looking at Tua as like, oh, he might actually be one of the best quarterbacks in football. But we saw Mike McDaniel's scheme and his offense, what he was able to do. And McDaniel is an underrated run developer. Meaning, if you watch the Dolphins the second half of the season, they had a real running game. And those are the concepts that McDaniels was putting in there and what he was able to establish. So you get Scatteraboo for that. Again, you keep Jackson Dart out of the blue tent. You get the consistency of Harbaugh. You get the offensive scheming of Mike McDaniel. You got a top 10 pick. Again, your defensive line. Like, there's a lot. I understand why John Harbaugh would love this job. And I understand why the Giants would be interested in him. And so this, to me, feels like this is kind of a perfect marriage. Because the best job is the job he just left. Or the job he got fired from. Which is the Baltimore Ravens. Because you get Lamar Jackson. No one's debating that. After that, if you're not going to sit out a year, because I do think, again, Tomlin's sitting out for at least a year. I do think that Philadelphia job has a real chance to be open and then moving on from Nick Sirianni in a year. But if you're not interested in sitting out a year, and Harbaugh is older than Tomlin, he's 62, 63, versus Tomlin's in his early 50s. If you're not interested in sitting out a year, then yeah, the Raiders job, yeah, you got the number 1 overall pick, but do you want to start with the rookie? I understand Jackson Dart's only in his second year, but the Raiders have far less talent, in my opinion, than the Giants. You got 2 key players, 3 if you want Max Crosby, but Max Crosby probably has to get traded to get some more talent on that team. The Cardinals, even if you like some of the talent of the Cardinals, and I think Tony and Will were a little higher on the Cardinals' talent than I personally am, but you're in a division with Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, and Mike McDonald, who might be 3 of the 7 or 8 best head coaches in football currently. That's a really tough ask. You know, what job is opened up that you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing? Are you going to go to the Steelers? A, it would look weird. B, we talked about it. They don't really have the talent under 30, not nearly as much talent under 30 as the Giants have. Again, there's a lot to like here. Am I saying that the Giants are for sure a playoff team? No. But is this going to make the Giants better? 1,000%. John Harbaugh is, if nothing else, him and Mike Tomlin, they are all-time floor raisers. So this team is going to be competent. This team is going to be good. You knock it out of the draft. We'll see what they do with the GM and Joe Shane, which supposedly one of the demands Harbaugh had, or one of the requests, I don't want to call them demands, but one of the requests was, I want to pick the GM. And maybe they, during these talks and during this communication, they're like, hey, we're not going to change the GM, but let's try to convince you that this guy is the right guy. Look at all these other players that he's drafted. Yes, does Saquon look bad because let him walk? 1,000%. Does the Daniel Jones contract look bad? Yeah, but you could almost even justify those now in a weird way. You could say, like, yeah, Saquon had the all-time season last year, but you saw him regress. He's only going to get older. Let's see how that plays out. And then you have the Daniel Jones contract, which is like, hey, look, man, Daniel Jones was good. Look at how he played in Indianapolis this year. We just didn't get enough talent around him fast enough, and his body started like. There's an arm you could kind of spin both of those. So maybe that's what they did in Joe Shane, and they're going to have a relationship there. We'll see. But Harbaugh to the Giants, it's not official. They're still working on contract details, but by all accounts and all the NFL reporters are saying, hey, this is where he's going to be. So I think that's a good move. I think the Giants are a good job, especially for somebody like John Harbaugh. The other little bit of interesting news, your kid should play baseball. If you have a child, and I've said this for a bunch, if you have a child and they are a real athlete, and let's say they're a multi-sport athlete at a young age, they could play, and I'm not saying you got to be multi-sport in terms of they could play NFL, MLB, NBA, but they are good enough where if they continue to develop, they could in high school play some baseball, some basketball, some football, right? Go to baseball. Kyle Tucker, who's a good player, really good player. Right now, there is 3 teams in on him. It's the Dodgers, it's the Blue Jays, and the Mets. And according to reports, the Blue Jays are willing to give him 10 years. The Mets are willing to give him $50 million, but shorter years. And the Dodgers, which shorter years could be 5-6 years, the Dodgers would be willing to give him the highest average annual value, but it's probably closer to 3 years. Kyle Tucker is not one of the 4 or 5 best hitters in the sport. In the NFL, to get $50+ million a year, you got to be a quarterback. You got to be coming off a great season, both statistically and your team's winning. And even then, $55 million is about where you cap out right now. And again, it's a salary cap sport. So even if you get that $55 million, your team, if you're not great, you have a chance for your team to have a really bad season or a really bad couple of years. In the NBA, those are max contracts. And again, with the new apron, OKC, who has done a fantastic job drafting, and Sam Presti's put on a masterclass of how to GM, they're not going to be able to keep all 3 of their guys potentially for another couple of years, plus have any real supporting cast, because the aprons are now so damning as far as once you've hit a certain threshold of how much money you're spending on your roster. So you're going to get paid, but your team's success is by design theoretically going to come down unless you continue to play at that. You are worth every bit of that money, and there's really only a handful of guys day in, day out, or on a season basis are worth that. In Major League Baseball, there's no salary cap. The Dodgers are the best team in the sport, and they could sign Kyle Tucker for, let's say it's $60 million, but it's only the 3 years. And he's not going to have true pressure because no one's going to look at that team and go, oh, we're blaming Kyle Tucker before Shohei, or we're blaming Kyle Tucker before Mookie, or blaming Kyle Tucker before. Like, the Dodgers have so much talent because there's no salary cap. They have so much money. This is getting to make $50-60 million a year. You're going to have, and I know it's 162 games, but you're going to have several off days. You're not the star of the team. So it's not like, you're not Freeman. You're not, And even if you are theoretically, because Freeman and Mookie are probably actually on the back end of their careers. I know they both had Mookie had a struggle during the middle of the season, but was really productive beginning and end. And he's Mookie Betts, which is an all-time player. Freddie had a really good season, but they're probably closer to the end of their careers than obviously the beginning of them. But they are the more noteworthy name. So if you're Tucker, you're going to be like the fourth guy, fifth guy in the lineup potentially. You are, obviously, they've got all the star pitchers, Yamamoto, Ohtani. Like, you're not going to be one of the LA stars, and you still would make $60+ million and a good chance to win a World Series. If your kid is good, like, that's a hell of a life. So if your kid is good at baseball, good at basketball, good at, like, he's just an athlete, and you're like, okay, he could probably play anything. Go play baseball. Go play baseball. It just makes so much more sense. Go play baseball, man. Don't get your head knocked off playing football. Basketball culture is, the sport is in a great place. The culture is a little iffy. Go get your $60 million and go play the sport where you're allowed to be wrong 70% of the time. It's a good life. When we come back, we are closing out the show, and I will explain the new time frame. This is HardFoul Radio. Thank you so much, everybody. And we are back to close out the show. Appreciate anybody who is going back, listening to this on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Appreciate anybody checking out the YouTube channel, you checking us out on Twitter. We'll be live back on Instagram and Twitch next week. So, real simple, just want to close out the show with this, is we are switching the times, and I know I'm switching it again, which probably is annoying. But the reality is, as life happens, you adapt and you adjust. And right now, it is just a smarter decision to be live from this time, from 8 to 10 p.m., Sunday through Thursday. Part of that, real simple, is to wake up at 3 a.m. every day. Not that that's nothing against it. I enjoy the ability to try to get up early, and I like the starting off my day with this. But the reality is, I live with somebody who I love very much, and they don't like getting up at 3 a.m. And that's fine. That's absolutely valid. Again, this is part of life. As I've changed jobs, as I've moved, as I've done these different things in my life over the several years of doing this, is I've always been willing to adapt. I've always been willing to change stuff up. And this is just another one of those things. And so I also, in the world of sports, growing up for me, the morning time was always such a big time. Obviously, First Take. Well, even predating First Take. It's like Mike and Mike in the morning was always the thing I woke up to. And I always loved that idea being the first thing people heard. But then as Speakeasy, Nightcap, some of these other shows get more and more popular, is they're really the first ones to get to comment on stuff. And that's the space where I truly always want to be, is able to get my opinion out there first. Because I don't necessarily, I listen to a bunch of Eric Thomas. I love Eric Thomas, motivational speaker. One of the things he said that always stuck with me was, I don't got to be the best if I get to you first. I might turn into the best just because I got to you first. Because you might hear this and go, oh, okay, yeah, that's what I agree with. That's what I'm thinking. And getting it out at night is actually the new way of getting it out first thing in the morning. And so we're going to try it out. I'm aware Nightcap and Speakeasy are extremely popular, but like what they do and what I do are two different things. This is if you want to learn, in my opinion, truly learn about what's going on with the sport. If you want to be able to break down, I'm hoping to have by next week also a setup where we'll be able to sit there and kind of break down some film as a part of a weekly segment. More effects, obviously, doing more and more, improving the quality of the show, but like genuinely talking about sports, learning about sports, not just being entertaining matters, obviously, but being more than just entertainment, being more than just these funny stories or these clippable moments. A space where if you are a true sports nerd like me, you can come, you can hang out, you can learn about the games, football, basketball, baseball. It's going to be a fun time, man. So for right now, the new hours for the show, 8 to 10 p.m. Appreciate anybody who came through, whether you're on Twitter, again, whatever platform you are listening to us on or you are watching us on. I greatly appreciate it. Group chat will still be streamed live every Wednesday, never late, 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. And A&M will come out Thursday night, pretty much around the time this wraps up. So don't forget to check that out. Appreciate, again, everybody for listening. This is HardFoul Radio. I will be back tomorrow.